Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 669. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for the next hour or so. And we're here to welcome Zach back also.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Bring Zach
Thank you.
back.
Glad to be
Bring
back.
Zach back. Bring Zach back. Bring Zach back.
I wonder
It's
who
already
that
happened.
is saying that.
Oh, I have no idea.
It sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's not
No,
Arnold
it doesn't.
Schwarzenegger.
At the very beginning,
It's-
it sounds like...
No, it doesn't.
It sounds like Sway. You know the DJ or the radio DJ Sway?
No.
It sounds like that guy. Do you know who
Who's
I'm talking
Sway?
about, Zach?
No,
You don't know who Sway is. Wow.
no.
How many radio DJs are, like, besides Casey Kasem, are international or are nationally known? Like, I feel like most radio DJs are local.
Sway is like the hip hop DJ on XM Sirius.
Oh, okay.
So he's as national
Yeah.
as DJs get, I would say.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah,
Is Howard Stern a DJ?
He was.
Okay.
Like, he used to play records, and then eventually they figured out that him talking instead of playing records got better ratings, and so slowly phased out all the records. Turned into just his little bumper segments for the entire show.
Right. He's an
So.
SJ.
What does that mean? Stern jockey?
A shock jock.
Oh, a shock jock. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a term I have not heard in a long, long time.
Since like the 90s, probably, right?
I think the internet killed the shock jock, basically.
Yeah, because now anyone can say anything ridiculous on the internet.
Right. Exactly. Like, the things that Howard Stern was saying in the 90s are like very tame compared to what you could find right now with ads running on it on YouTube. You know what I mean? As far as
Yes,
like just
yeah.
saying messed up things. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. This is episode 669. We got a bunch to do, but before we jump in and do all that stuff, I heard Kyle has a check-in.
I have a quick check-in, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hit us.
All right, so on Friday night, I took my son and my father-in-law to my wife's work. She works for a big software company called Epic here in the Madison area, because they do movie nights every couple times a year. And they do these movie nights in these massive, like, their theaters seat thousands of people. It has an enormous screen there.
Mhm.
And right now they're doing the Lord of the Rings trilogy extended edition.
Okay.
So we went to go see the Two Towers extended edition in this theater at my wife's place of work. And it was interesting to be seeing a movie in a large group of people that has been so memed, because like it was almost like a Rocky Horror Picture Show experience, where like there was moments where people were kind of interacting with the movie, like not to the extent of Rocky Horror, but like that there's definitely like moments in memes that people were looking forward to and wanted to participate. And probably the greatest moment, everyone knows, the scene where Viggo Mortensen kicks a helmet and then screams, and like kind of the joke is like, the first time you always turn to your neighbor and go, "Did you know that?" For that scene. So that scene happens. He kicks the helmet, and there is a lot of like dads there with their kids like me, and I just saw so many heads turn to the side and turn to the left. And I can imagine they were all doing the whole, "Did you know he actually broke a toe?" in that scene right there. And it was like the meme coming to life.
Sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's very fun.
So clearly you were into it, even though they were being a little disruptive in the audience.
I wouldn't say it wasn't disruptive. It was probably just more call and response than you'd expect in a normal theater situation. But this wasn't a normal theater situation. This was like, kind of an event for work people and their families. My wife who works there was even there. So like, it's just families were there. And so it was a bit more casual, I would say, of a setting than like a theater.
Do you think if the hooligans weren't your wife's coworkers, maybe you might have been a little more upset?
Well, this company employs 14,000 people. So if I say like her coworkers, that's on paper only.
I'm just saying, normally you get upset when somebody lays a blanket over their legs. So I can't imagine that what was going on in this theater was perfectly fine with you.
I think because it was not a normal theater experience. It's a movie that, you know, like most people there had seen multiple times.
Okay.
It was kind of like a fan event almost in a sense.
If it had been a new movie, you would have been upset.
I would have been upset. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And surprised.
You're like, oh wow, showed a new movie. I was considering saying out loud during that Viggo Mortensen scene, like, did you know? But I thought that would be too disruptive. So
You
And
love talking in the theater. Loudly.
I know it seemed really out of character of me to do that too.
You
So.
love it. You love it. Your dream would have been some Taylor Swift fans walking right then.
Oh, so I could tell them, sorry,
Yeah.
Taylor Swift Eras Tour is in the next 1,000-seat auditorium.
Yeah.
Wrong auditorium.
How big
Was
are
it-
like standard movie theaters? They hold like 500 people, right? At the most, like your standard.
I mean, I would. You're talking like an ultra screen can hold a couple hundred people. I would say like your standard theater holds
80.
80. Yeah, less than 100
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. And like a big theater at like a 24 theater type place might hold like 300, 400, something
300
like
or
that.
400, I would say. Yeah.
So this is a huge theater.
Yeah. I mean, this was the theater that they used to use for meetings until they got to be too big. So now this is their small theater, which seats like 4,000. Their big theater, which they sometimes do movies in, seats 11,000.
And was this a
And that
film
thing's-
print or were they just Blu-ray right to the screen?
I'm assuming this is Blu-ray right to the screen. I doubt
Okay.
they're like running film, but
Sure.
looks
Was this
pretty
a
good.
ticketed event, or could anyone just kind of wander in?
anyone can wander in.
Wow.
But you have to like know what's happening, and you have to know how to get there. The Epic campus is massive,
Yeah.
so like you can't just find. You're not going to happen upon it.
Can anybody
Gotcha.
just get on the Epic campus or is there like a guard gate? Just asking
Anyone
for
can
a
get-
friend.
Anyone can get on the campus.
Okay.
If you guys ever come, I'll take you to the campus.
So you really just have to be on the email list that announces the movies.
Right, which is to company. So if you're on the company email list,
Yeah.
How
then you know
often
about
do they
all the
do
movie
this?
events. I would say like maybe once a month or once every 2 months.
What's the most
They'll do a movie.
controversial movie they've shown there?
I don't know if they actually went through with it, but they like oftentimes they'll say to like the employees like, "Oh, hey, like here are your choices of movies."
Mhm.
And for one Halloween, the choices were like Hereditary, Midsommar, another really intense one, or Cabin
Sure.
in the Woods.
Okay, well, at least Cabin in the Woods is like a comedy.
Yeah, I think Cabin in the Woods won out, but like I could not imagine going to like my place of work and watching Hereditary with like 4,000 of my coworkers on like a
Right.
casual Friday night.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine that either. That would be pretty wild.
Yeah, I remember Megan showed me that list. I'm like, this is a crazy list for a work event.
Nice. All right. Well, the next time you go to another one, we need a report back.
So we will be doing the Return of the King in April.
Okay.
Yep. And then after that, their next series is Twilight. So it
They
might
really
be a while.
space them out.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they space it out that much, but
Sure.
you know, it's something that they do for the, it's like a employee thing. So
I did.
yeah.
I'm sure Zach knows this, but I once did all three of them extended edition one day in the movie theater.
yeah, that's what was that?
It was like
13
12 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
It was 12 hours with like little half-hour breaks in between, and it was great. It was awesome. It was such a waste of a day, but it was
That's really
great.
a waste of,
I've done all three extendeds in one day a couple times, but not in a theater.
Yeah.
like at home.
Yeah.
I
Did I tell
think
you how?
the-
Did I
Go
tell you
ahead.
how Julie watched The Lord of the Rings the first time?
No.
So she hadn't seen them well into her 20s. And so I was like, well, you should watch them. So we watched them, but she was really not wanting to. And so the compromise we reach is that we watch them in 20-minute increments.
Oh, yes.
And so we watched them over the course of many months in 20-minute increments.
I remember this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extended or theatrical?
Extended. So
That
it took
w-
a long time.
That would take a while, especially if it wasn't like every night doing 20 minutes. If it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
every night, every
It-
now and then type of thing.
Would you stop in the middle of a scene? Was it like a 20-minute alarm? And you're like, or would you wait till there was a natural break in the action?
20 minutes. All she could handle.
You're just like in the middle of Battle of Helm's Deep, and like, well, we got to pause there, and we'll come back to this later.
Was she, for the 20 minutes, was she at least invested enough that you didn't have to like prime her every time you sat down for like?
She enjoyed it. Whenever she was watching it, she enjoyed it quite a bit.
Okay.
And then we'd finish, and then she'd kind of dread the next time she had to watch it again. And she was like annoyed that Gandalf died for months until like he came back.
Oh, right.
Like if you were just watching it, it doesn't take that long before he comes back. But
Right.
It just took forever. It's just all I heard about.
That's great.
Can't believe
Awesome.
Gandalf died.
When there were moments like Viggo Mortensen kicking the helmet, did you turn to her and be like, "Hey, did you know?"
I don't
Are you
remember.
that kind of
although
person?
I don't think I'm that kind of person. But
Okay.
I don't think she would have cared, so I probably would not have mentioned it.
Okay. All right.
I've been itching to do a Hobbit marathon because I only saw them once in the movie theaters as they came out, and I really liked the second one, and the first one was okay, and the third one I don't remember. So I kind of feel like if I was able to rewatch them at home on my own time, either all at once or even split up, I think maybe the experience, I think I would like them better the second time than I did the first. Or it'll crystallize why I don't remember things. And
I don't plan on rewatching the 3 movies, but there's a fan edit. It's about 4 hours long that is one movie of the 3 movies.
Sure.
And I've read really good things about it online. So I definitely plan on watching that.
Nice. Somebody gave me their login to their Plex, and on their Plex was a 50-minute fan edit of the MCU through the Infinity Gauntlet saga, basically through Endgame. And I was like, that's insane.
Did you watch it?
You have to watch it.
No, I haven't watched it. I mean,
It's 50 minutes.
I'm sorry, not 50 minutes, 50 hours.
Oh,
50
I was like,
hours.
it's going to be a music
50
video.
minutes would have been like really fast. No, this
I was
like,
impressed by 50 minutes, like to distill all of that into less than an hour.
this is 50 hours. So they took like 23 movies. And then I don't know whether they've just put them back to back in chronological order or if they've literally edited
cut them, or
I don't know.
interesting.
I don't know.
I don't feel like there's too much interesting intercutting you could do between the movies. Like they don't overlap too much.
I mean, if the point is to focus on the Thanos trilogy with the gems and stuff like that, there's probably like 3/4 of some movies that you could completely chop out if you're just telling, the
But
story.
50 hours, how many MCU movies are there?
Up to that point, there was like 20.
I think there was 23.
So
as
they're
of
not really
Endgame.
cutting anything out. That's about 2 hours per movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I wonder if it's just like each movie back to back.
I'll have to look into it to see if they've
Interesting.
literally kept all the scenes in, but like just put them back to back, or if they probably did more than back to back. You'd cut all the credits and,
Sure. Yeah. No, I can understand
Yeah,
that.
but I don't think they're like taking this moment of Avengers and then cutting in Incredible Hulk in the middle of it. And
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you could though, if you were like trying to line up the timeline, because they do jump around. Well, some of the movies do. Not all of them, but okay. What are we doing here, guys?
well, we are going to talk MCU today.
That's true. We are going to talk the MCU. We're going to talk Captain America: Brave New World. We're also going to talk Emilia Pérez. We're squeaking in one more Oscar-nominated movie. We're going to discuss one more Oscar-nominated movie before the big ceremony next Sunday. Speaking of the Oscars, we're also this week going to run down very quickly our Oscar picks for 2024 in film. Before we jump into all that, I need to also remind you there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Go check it out there. You could also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. We'd really appreciate that if you have not done it yet. That helps us out quite a bit. You could also send us a listener email to heyguys@cinereelists.com. But what we really want you to do this week if you're an Oscar person, is enter the Oscar pool. You can do that by clicking the link in the description of this episode. It'll be right at the top. And if you enter the Oscar pool, fill out a ballot. Even if you're not into this, maybe you Christmas tree it, see how you do. Who knows? And then Oscar night, the website, which Zach's friend developed, will keep track of everything for you and give us a winner at the end of the night. And just to remind everybody, I technically won last year.
You did, yes.
With pretty much, I matched the best score I've ever had at the Oscars. I think it was like 18 correct out of the 23 or 24 or something like that, which was insane and won't happen again this year, but we'll see. Anyway, of the three hosts, excluding the three hosts of this podcast, whichever listener enters and wins will get shipped at no cost to them a Cinereelists mug. So get ready for that. If you really want a Cinereelists mug, then make sure you enter. Just one entry per person, please. And you could do two if you want to do a should and a will, but we're only going to count the wills, just to warn you. So whatever you mark will, we're going to count that one. Or if you just have one ballot, we will count that one. If you click the link in the description, you should be able to see me and my ballots already filled out. That's how you know you're in the group, is if you see me already in there. All right. Again, link in the description. Also, one more thing, and then we will get into our Oscar picks for this year. We did it the last 2 years. We're going to do it again this year. We will be on Discord while the Oscars are playing. So if you want to just chit chat with us while the Oscars are going, this was super fun when Will Smith freaked out and totally changed the history of the Oscars, I would say, or at least momentarily changed the history of the Oscars. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen at these shows. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe something crazy will happen. Who knows? But either way, it's fun to hang out with other people, especially if they're not talking in the same room with you. Discord's perfect for that. That way we can just chat away and not bother anybody else who wants to just watch. So we will be on the Discord, link in the description on that as well. You guys ready to get into our Oscar picks?
Yes.
Let's do it. All right. Let's just go category by category, and then, we'll just do should and will type of thing.
Can I say we're using the official Oscar ballot?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's in the most random order.
It
It's
feels
in
very random.
Such a random order. It's very confusing for me to navigate.
It starts in alphabetical order until you get to the third column, which just seems like a spillover column, because then you get Best Picture in there and production design and live action short. But everything
he's exactly
else,
right. He's
the
exactly
first two
right.
columns are in alphabetical order.
It
The
does,
first two are, and then it's not.
It does feel pretty scattershot. Why don't we do column 1, 2, 3, but going from the bottom up?
No, James, they're making it more random now.
No, it's not more random. It's what we want to do is kind of end with Best Picture.
We'll just end with Best Picture. Just skip Best Picture and then end with it.
Okay, so go 1, 2, 3, top to bottom, but skip Best Picture. That's what we're saying.
Yes.
Okay, let's do that then. Let's start with actor. Let's jump back and forth based on when we switch categories. We probably should have thought this through before we hit record, but it's fine. So I'll do actor in a leading role. Zach, you do the next category. Then Kyle. All right.
Okay. And are we reading all 5 of them, or are we just going to do our pick, the person who's reading it?
You're reading all 5 and then quickly doing
All
your
the
pick.
nominees. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Our first category, actor in a leading role. You've got Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet, Coleman Domingo, Ray Fiennes, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. My should and will is Adrian Brody, The Brutalist.
That's also mine. Mine too.
Kyle?
Yeah, that's mine. I've only seen one of these movies, and it's not The Brutalist, but yeah, why not? He should win it.
Perfect. Zach?
Okay, so actor in a supporting role. There's Yora Borazov in Anora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. I said Yura Borazov should win, but Kieran Culkin will win.
Kieran Culkin should and will.
I have Kieran Culkin should and will.
Next, we have actress in a leading role. Cynthia Erivo, Wicked. Carla Sofia Gascon, Emilia Pérez. Mikey Madison, Anora. Demi Moore, The Substance. Fernanda Torres, I'm Still Here. I have Demi Moore should win, but Mikey Madison will win.
I have Demi winning and Mikey shoulding.
This one I would probably change based on what happens tonight with the SAG Awards.
Mhm.
But I have Demi winning and Mikey shoulding.
Nice.
Okay, interesting.
Next up, actress in a supporting role. Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana.
Zoe
Zoe Saldana.
Saldana.
No, it's just Saldana.
We decided this, James.
For Emilia Perez. We'll get into it, but seriously, Zoe, for actress in a supporting role, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that.
I have Zoe with the win, and Ariana should win.
I have Zoe Saldana should and would.
Zoe Saldana should and would.
All right.
For animated film, this is an animated feature film. There's Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, and that's foul spelled Fowl. So there's a little pun in there.
Yep.
And The Wild Robot, and I have The Wild Robot will win and Flow should win.
I have The Wild Robot should and will.
I'm matching Zach. Wild Robot will, Flow should.
I haven't seen Flow yet.
But I really like Wild Robot, so I wouldn't be mad if that one won.
Next up, we have animated short film. I've seen none of these. Beautiful Men, In the Shadow of the Cypress, Magic Candies, Wander to Wonder, or I can't tell if this is Yuck! Exclamation point or Yuckle.
It's Yuck.
It's Yuck with exclamation points.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's very small.
You need thicker
So,
glasses.
These are the reading glasses. You know what? I like the title Magic Candies. I think that should and will win.
Okay. I have Magic Candies will, but Beautiful Men should. And no, I haven't seen any of them.
Magic Candies, I thought was Magic Candles, and I picked it for would and should.
Okay, so you need reading glasses also, Zach.
Well, I just think
Nice.
Magic Candles is a better name. Maybe not for whatever the movie's about, but
Next up, we've got cinematography with The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu. I have The Brutalist winning and Dune Part 2 should.
I have the exact same thing.
I also have The Brutalist winning, but Nosferatu shoulding.
I know I started it, but could we not say shoulding anymore? It's like a little too close to something else. When I said it, it didn't bother me, but after hearing you guys say it, I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's
All right.
very close to something else.
We will ixnay the...
It's fine. If you want to continue, it's fine. But
Kyle, you're the slowest Pig Latin speaker I've ever heard.
I was trying to do what it is in Pig Latin because I never speak Pig Latin.
Udshay.
Udinche.
Yeah,
Udinche, thank you.
Costume design. Okay, this category honors the best in costume design.
Mhm.
A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator II, Nosferatu, and Wicked. I think Wicked will win this, but I think Conclave should win this.
I think Conclave should and will win, and I just thought I really hope there's a sequel to Nosferatu that's called Nosferat number 2.
Nosferatu. Yeah.
Nosferatu. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
I match Zach again. Exactly the same. Conclave should. Wicked will.
I haven't watched a lot of movies, so I feel like you guys have a better idea than I do.
I don't know if I have a better
I haven't
idea.
watched it,
but
yeah.
It's fine.
All right, directing. Minor award. They are Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Emilia Pérez, and The Substance. Interesting, they don't have the name of the directors on our ballots here.
Yeah, that is interesting.
The Oscars just put together a poor ballot.
Yes, yeah. I think that Honora, directed by Sean Baker, should win, but The Brutalist, directed by a name, will win.
Brady Corbet, I think, or something
Thank
like
you.
that.
Yes.
I matched exactly the same.
I thought that Honora will win, but The Substance should win.
Okay.
All right.
Next up, we've got documentary feature film. Those would include Black Box Diaries, No Other Land, Porcelain War, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, and Sugarcane. And I had No Other Land winning and also should win.
I put
You
the
almost did it, didn't you?
He did. He really
Yeah.
wanted to. I put the Porcelain War would win.
Okay.
And No Other Land should win.
I have No Other Land, should, and will.
Wow. Okay.
Just because we won't get to talk about it again, Black Box Diaries is really good, and it's on Netflix if anybody needs to watch a documentary. It's pretty great. Go ahead.
What's
Zach.
it about? What's it about?
It's about a reporter in Japan, female reporter in Japan, who was raped by another person in the media. And in their culture, you just don't talk about that if you're a woman, and it happens to you. And she talked about it. It was very public about it, and the guy had very powerful friends, basically. And so it's like what she went through talking about being raped by a very prominent person in Japan. And she documented the whole process. Very good, very well done, and also an important topic, I would say.
Okay. Documentary short film. There's Death by Numbers, I Am Ready, Warden, Incident, Instruments of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra. I think that I Am Ready, Warden will win, but I really hope Incident wins.
Yeah, I think that this is the year for the only girl in the orchestra, but I'm really hoping that Instruments of a Beating Heart pulls through.
Okay. I matched Zach again. I don't know how, because neither of us have seen either of these, but I had will win, I Am Ready, should win, Incident.
Nice. Nice. You love to see it.
For the achievement in film editing, we have Honora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Pérez, and Wicked. I have The Brutalist winning for film editing, and Honora should win.
I have it reversed. Honora winning, Brutalist should win.
I think Honora will definitely win, but I would like to see Conclave win.
Okay.
All right.
Next up, international feature film. I'm Still Here, The Girl with the Needle, Emilia Pérez, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, or Flow. I have Emilia Pérez winning, and Flow should win.
I think I'm Still Here will win, but I want Flow to win.
I have I'm Still Here as should and will.
Nice. That's a good one. All of us are completely different. That might be
That could be the decider right
that
there.
could be the decider right there.
Could be.
All right. For makeup and hairstyling, these had both the best makeup and the best hairstyling. So if it only had the best in one of these categories, it cannot win.
Mm-hmm.
I have A Different Man, Emilia Pérez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked as our options. I think The Substance not only will win, but should win.
Bingo.
That's a bingo.
That's a bingo.
All right. Original score, The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Pérez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. I have The Wild Robot should win and will win.
You have Wicked? I have The
No.
Brutalist. What did you say?
He said The Wild Robot.
I said The
Oh,
Wild
the
Robot.
Wild Robot. I had Brutalist, will and should.
Okay.
I want the Conclave to win, but I can't get the score from The Brutalist out of my head.
Yeah.
So I say it will win.
Next up, original song El Mal from Emilia Pérez, The Journey from the 6888, Like a Bird from Sing Sing, Mia Camino from Emilia Pérez, or Never Too Late from Elton John, Never Too Late. I went with El Mal from Emilia Pérez winning, and Like a Bird from Sing Sing being the one I picked for should.
Okay. I similarly put Like a Bird from Sing Sing as should, and I put Elmar from Emilia Pérez as will.
I can't believe we matched again.
Which one's El Mal from Emilia Pérez?
I don't know. I just picked an Emilia Pérez one because I think Emilia Pérez is going to win a couple of these awards.
Yeah, I also have Like a Bird as should win.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I think it will win also.
Okay.
You're naive. All right, guys, the big one.
No.
Best production design.
How dare you?
We have The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune: Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked 2. I said that, let's see what I said. Wicked will win, but I wanted Dune Part 2 to win.
I think The Brutalist will win, but I want Conclave to win.
I have Wicked winning with Nosferatu as my should, so we're all over the place on this one too.
All right.
How about live action short film? Everyone's favorite category. We have Aline, Anuja, I'm Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, and The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent.
And now, again, with this ballot, why is The Man Who Cannot Remain Silent slightly too high?
Yes, it is a little off kilter.
Yeah.
Agreed. Who is in charge of making the Oscar play along ballot?
Very sloppy.
Very sloppy. Yeah. I think this is the year of the robot. So I'm going, I'm Not a Robot should and will win the Oscar for best live action film.
I have I'm Not a Robot for my should, but my will win The Last Ranger.
Okay, you're all crazy. If you had seen a single one of these, you would know that Anuja is going to win, and The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent will win.
All right.
Could you say that slightly higher, please?
Like higher pitched or louder?
No, just
just
straighten
higher,
your back a little bit. So
as it appears on our ballot here. It's slightly higher than the rest.
What? Don't do anything.
Oh, you're making a joke about the format of the ballot.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I got you.
Next up, we have sound.
It's called a callback, Zach.
Yeah.
It's sound. Movies with great sound would be these nominated movies: A Complete Unknown, Dune: Part 2, Emilia Pérez, Wicked, or The Wild Robot. I picked Dune: Part 2, will and should.
I picked Dune: Part 2 for both.
Same here.
All right.
Wow, a bingo.
Not going to be a divider there.
Okay. Visual effects. I see in front of me the 5 options are Alien: Romulus, Better Man, Dune: Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. I think will and should will both go to Dune: Part 2.
I concur.
Same.
That's a bingo.
Adapted screenplay: A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Pérez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. I think Conclave should win, but Sing Sing will win.
I have Conclave should and will.
I have Conclave should and will.
Oh, okay.
Original screenplay. We got Honora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5th, or The Substance. I have Honora winning this, but The Substance, I think, should.
I have Honora winning and The Substance should.
Same here.
Nice.
Wow.
That's a bingo.
All right, guys, this is one of the big ones. Best Picture. The roughly 10 nominees are Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune: Part 2, Emilia Pérez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. I think that The Substance should win, but I think that Anora will win.
I also think The Substance should win and that Anora will win.
I have Anora for both.
Nice.
We're a little different on that one. All right, that is our official picks for the Oscars. We cannot change them between now and the Oscars. I mean, we could make a second ballot if we want, but these are the official ones. If you want to jump in on the Oscar pool, again, links in the description. If you'd like to see what we picked, you can click our ballots in there and take a look. I think you can do that. I don't remember. Can you look at other people's ballots?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to take a look at my ballot, since I won last year and just copy mine, nobody can stop you. Go for it. All right, you guys ready to talk some movies?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's talk Captain America: Brave New World, which is in theaters now. We're going to get into it right after this clip.
You and I haven't always agreed on how much latitude enhanced individuals deserve. But what you've accomplished has given me reason to reconsider. Which is why I want you, Captain America, to help me rebuild the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yes, sir.
That was Captain America: Brave New World, a 2025 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Captain America. This movie was directed by Julius Ona and stars Anthony Mackie, Danny Ramirez, Shira Haas, Carl Lumbly, Zosha Rockamore, Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito. You know who that guy is.
Giancarlo Esposito. Liv Tyler, Tim Blake Nelson, and Harrison Ford. Amongst others, the official IMDb plot synopsis is: Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, finds himself in the middle of an international incident and must discover the motive behind a nefarious global plan. So before we get into it, it's Esposito. I'm telling you.
It's not Esposito?
It's Esposito.
Okay. Is this a Saldana situation we're having here?
No, I watched this guy on YouTube named Dan Morell. He talks box office all the time, and every time he says the name, he immediately plays a clip of Giancarlo Esposito saying his own name, because he gets constant comments from people that he's mispronouncing it, and that's how the guy himself pronounces it.
I mean, I'm sure Esposito is the anglicized version of it. And Esposito probably makes more sense.
He probably never corrects anybody for saying it wrong.
All right, but he seems like even though he plays usually intense people, or he's known for that, he seems like an actual nice person. But interactions I have seen. Sure.
Well, his early career, he didn't play a bunch of bad guys, but Breaking Bad basically typecast him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's a good point. He was in a lot of Spike Lee movies in his early career.
Right.
Yeah.
He was just kind of a normal actor. Never the main guy, just kind of in the ensembles type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Captain America: Brave New World. We saw it, Kyle. It's the latest MCU movie, kind of a soft reboot of Captain America itself. The character having been replaced. Is that the first Marvel character that, like, the character has canonically been replaced?
Yes. I mean, we've had recastings of actors.
Right.
But I don't think we've ever had maybe a little bit. We have like a new Black Widow with White Widow in Thunderbolts and Florence Pugh, but she's kind of her own thing. It's just sort of the same style of superhero.
Right. It's not literally the same name and like
No.
you
No.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. This is Sam Wilson Captain America, not
Right.
I want to say Chris Evans, but I can't think of Steve Rogers.
Steve
That's his
Rogers.
name.
Yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Rogers, Captain America. Yeah.
Okay. Did I read the plot synopsis? Did we skip
You did.
that?
It was about
Okay.
nefarious world events that Captain America must investigate.
Right. Yeah, so this movie starts with a brand new Captain America. If you didn't watch the show, what was it called? Captain America
and the
or
Winter
something?
Soldier.
Oh, and the Winter Soldier. What was the
Yeah.
other one that was like Hawk and
Oh, Hawkeye. It's just called Hawkeye.
Oh, okay. Anyway, did you watch the TV show?
I did watch Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Yes.
Okay. I did too. I don't remember much about it other than Anthony Mackie took over the role.
And wasn't Wyatt Russell Captain America at first?
Right. Wyatt Russell.
Kurt Russell's son.
Right.
He was the next Captain America, but then things transpired.
And doesn't he become somebody else?
I believe he becomes U.S. agent, and he'll be in the
Right.
Thunderbolts movie also.
Right. That's the connection.
Yeah. We're really setting up Thunderbolts in the next phase of MCU, apparently. That's
Which is
where we're
weird
going.
because it's like, I mean, they could, you never know. It could be like another Guardians of the Galaxy situation where it's a property that nobody really cares about,
Right.
but it ends up being good. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And so
it could
people
be.
attach themselves to it. But Thunderbolts is definitely in that category of like the Thunderbolts comics were never popular or like,
Oh, so I was never huge. I mean, I was into the comics. I was huge into the trading cards, like those Flare ones or Fleer, whatever brand they were.
mhm,
And most of those Thunderbolts characters didn't even make the trading cards.
mhm.
Like they were pretty minor characters, and you had some minor characters in those trading cards for sure.
Yeah, like I remember like Marvel Series 3 had like a team drawing of the Thunderbolts.
Maybe,
that was like
yeah.
it. All right. So in this movie, you've got Sam Wilson taking over. You've got kind of his younger protege who wears like his old wing suit, basically.
His Falcon suit, yeah.
Yeah, his Falcon suit. And then you've got Harrison Ford as the president. And this movie kind of starts with the idea that like the president and Captain America are working together in a way. Like he's kind of taking orders from the president
Mhm.
and then deciding whether he wants to do them or not, type of thing. But whereas the old Captain America, there wasn't as much coordination. Isn't that kind of what the movie sets up? Like I thought there was. We just didn't see it.
So I remember the old Captain America, especially we saw this in Civil War. He wanted to be independent, where
Mhm.
Tony Stark wanted to work with the government. And that was kind of what set the whole conflict up, which they reference briefly in this movie.
Sure.
And yeah, in this one, you feel like the president, Harrison Ford, with Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Also, Thunderbolt Ross?
Mm,
Wait, is that why they call it Thunderbolts?
it's a clue.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
I'm assuming it's connected some way.
It must be.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that. Okay. But yeah, so the new president summons Captain America and was like, "Hey, let's play for the same team here.
Mhm,
You're on my side, right?"
mhm,
And you can see Sam Wilson's like, "Am I? Like, who do I work for?"
mhm.
And that's maybe one of the themes of this movie, if this movie had themes.
Sure. Yeah, does it have themes? I think it's trying to have themes.
This movie's I can just get into this. I was
Okay.
so incredibly bored by this movie.
Okay.
I saw this in the theater with my wife and my son. And Gene, you met Gene
Mhm.
and his son Theo. So we all saw it together. And at one point I turned to Megan and I was like, if I could 45-minute rule a theater movie, I could leave the theater right now and be totally fine with it.
Sure.
Like nothing about this movie is making me interested or engaged whatsoever.
Mhm.
There's a sinister plot, that it's trying to be like a paranoid thriller, but like good paranoid thrillers, the threat's coming from the inside, or you don't know where the threat's coming from.
Sure.
And in this movie, it's clear that the threat's coming from the outside. So at no point do you feel like the government is working against him. Where in good paranoid thrillers, you're like, well, who is the bad guy? And in this movie, it's pretty clear who the bad guy is.
Sure.
You mentioned Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that he was like a reshoot character they added in. And man, did that not feel like a shoehorned in character? Like, oh, we need another big name in this movie. Because he's in the first third of the movie and then disappears.
Right. And then he comes back for like a exposition scene. Exposition?
Right. Yes.
Sorry, the Esposito threw me off.
The exposition scene. I like it. Yeah. Right. What was that called in Game of Thrones? Like sexposition?
Right.
They need to have that for when Giancarlo Esposito is giving out exposition. That's when he's just giving out like gravitas, but giving you a background. Speaking of exposition, have I seen a movie recently that uses news clips to carry you along as frequently as this movie does?
Yeah, it did it
like
often.
Every 10 minutes, we cut to like generic news. They're like, in another news, Captain America battled blah, blah, blah over the Sea of Yo-Yo today. In the conflict. And if it reminded me of that Netflix memo that went out, I don't know, it went viral several weeks or months ago, where like Netflix production said to their screenwriters, hey, have the characters every 10 minutes explain what they're doing. because when people watch Netflix, they're also like doing the dishes. So we want people to understand like what's happening in the movie, so they're half paying attention. And that's what this felt like. I felt like every 10 minutes the movie through these bad news clips was like explaining to me what exactly happens.
Sure. I think if they weren't doing it with the news clips, they were also doing it with the characters too. Like the characters were constantly talking about what was happening.
Yes.
But not really. I don't know. Things did happen. Like there was action here and there.
Right. It
just felt like there was a lot of talking and not a lot of showing for some reason.
Yes. Yeah. And you talk about action, with the exception of the Red Hulk fight, I thought the action was just blah.
I mean, even the Red Hulk fight, I did not. There were definitely things that didn't make sense to me. Like, why would you have a wingsuit made of vibranium and be taking like these massive punches, but you like never fire the power back at the person? Like, what's the point of having the vibranium wingsuit if you're never
using like the fact that it absorbs power?
Right.
Yeah.
Like I understand they were like saving it for like one blast at the end, but it just it felt like Sam didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And that didn't make sense to me because he's clearly had this for a little while. I don't know.
Yeah. He's like, oh, this is how I can use my power.
I really wish that for this movie, just because it feels a little surprise light, I would say, or consequence light, maybe.
Yeah.
I really wish they had not put Red Hulk in the trailer. Like that, they should have held that. And I know it's hard to market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like putting Red Hulk in it, I think was a selling point for some people. But I think word of mouth, if they had surprised people with that, would have been better, I think.
Yes. Because that is the one surprise. I mean, there is a bad guy.
But
if you're
who cares about that bad guy?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you're deep in Marvel knowledge, you're like, oh, they're getting to this guy now. But it's not like a Magneto or a Thanos or anything. Like, it's just like, okay, we need a bad guy. Let's go into the C list of Marvel bad guys and pull this guy out.
Yeah, and you know, like we said, like you can pull C-list characters out of the depths of comic book obscurity and make them likable and popular in the culture. You just can't snap your fingers and do that. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And so
Yeah.
like the reason why Thanos, even people who didn't read the comics were into Thanos is because they didn't make Thanos a bad guy for like, you know, what, 18 movies or something like that. They would show us little glimpses here and there, but he wasn't a main bad guy. Like
He was like the
first
shadow
movie out.
bad guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
And they built to him.
I kind of feel like all these, not all these, but like the movies we've gotten in the last 3 years or so, they all have their own individual bad guys. And they kind of spoiled us with Thanos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To where like these individual character bad guys are just like not enough of a threat to make these movies feel big enough.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like I think this movie fits in very well with early Marvel movies as far as like size and consequence and stuff like that. Like the first Captain America movie, like it from a scale perspective, I think this actually fits pretty well. The
Yes.
problem is we had a Captain America Civil War, which was practically another Avengers movie. And when you compare it to that, it's a tough task for a reboot to like ask people to get out there and come see this thing when it's clearly a step back. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yes. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt about the whole movie. Like other movies from the MCU that we've gotten in the past couple of years, what's the movie?
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi. I like that. It was
That was good.
original enough that
Mhm.
it didn't remind me of other Marvel movies, stuff like that. But then you get some other things and you're just kind of like, you're just reminded that I think maybe we peaked when it comes to these movies as a
Yeah.
universe type of thing. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they can pull it out, but it kind of feels like ever since Endgame, it's just kind of spinning wheels trying to find a direction. And I think they kind of had a direction going, and then Jonathan Majors threw a wrench in something that already wasn't working, I would say.
Yes. Yeah. Like he was maybe the connective tissue to all of this, and then, or his character Kang was.
Right. Did you watch Secret Wars?
I did not watch Secret Wars. No.
It was so bad.
I heard. Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of shockingly bad. And like it's based on characters that like are intricate to some very popular storylines in the MCU. So they kind of burned a bunch of storylines, or they're going to have to like significantly change them or make the characters from Secret Wars good again somehow. Good as in like interesting, because I don't know how they burned that so bad, but they did.
Well, isn't that like what we've been building, or not what the next phase of MCU is like Secret Wars? And
yeah, it should be building hype that direction. It's clearly not.
It's clearly not. Like, right, the Infinity Saga, they were dropping Infinity Stones in like every movie. Now, you didn't know it was Infinity Stone, but like, oh, here's the Tesseract, here's this, here's that, here's Thanos. And like, you felt like we were building to Infinity War and then Endgame, and they were two massively successful movies, both financially and I think as actual movies that are successful.
Yeah, they're well-made movies.
And like, the only reason I know that we're building the Secret Wars is because Marvel told me we are.
Right.
But from watching these movies, nothing's telling me where we're going whatsoever.
Yeah, because I don't even think they're headed that direction anymore. I don't think they even really know what direction they're going.
No,
I'm sure
they
sure they do. I mean, they've mapped out the releases for the next 3 years, so they can certainly move around and cancel things. But I think they have a direction. I just think at the same time they're a little. It feels like they haven't fully committed,
right,
to something yet. They just kind of are keeping their options open.
Yeah,
and the acting in this movie wasn't bad. Harrison Ford was Harrison Ford. I liked him in the role. I thought it was interesting, and I'm liking kind of like most of his late career stuff that I've seen.
Yes.
But and Anthony Mackie was fine. His sidekick was fine. And maybe it's because I watched the TV show that this felt more just like a long episode of the TV show. You know what I mean? Like a bigger budget episode of the TV show. I don't know.
It didn't feel like an event.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, oh, here's the next. I don't know. To me, this felt like this should have been the welcoming, the homecoming, the debut of Sam Wilson, Captain America.
Mm-hmm. He never really got a hero moment that I'm going to remember.
Right. Exactly. And I think I don't like always doing this. What's the movie that it should have been? Because I got to review. We're talking about the movie that was made.
Right.
There are interesting ideas in this where occasionally he talks about like, who am I? Because right, he is stepping into the role of Captain America, and it's kind of meta because both of he the character and he the actor are stepping into this very iconic role played by another person. And there's Captain America and the Winter Soldier touch a little bit on it too, on like just sort of the racial aspect of it and the history, and we have a little bit of that with the mentor character. And I thought that was all really interesting, and like that could have been the movie. Is more of like, what does it mean to be Captain America, to the identity, to be a black Captain America in America. But Disney's not going to go that intense with this story, especially Disney now in our current climate, as I'll put it.
Yeah, well, I agree. I don't disagree with what you're saying for sure. I do think that they towed that line flawlessly with Black Panther once.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it can be done. And I think they definitely had an opportunity. I think they actually did a better job with that line and that motif, that theme in the TV show. Like I remember it being kind of better represented in the TV show than I did in this.
Yeah. Because the mentor was this black super soldier who got experimented on and forgot it. And yeah.
I think my biggest issue with this one is like the Winter Soldier, the original the second Captain America, is so good despite it being a superhero movie. Like it's a good spy thriller that happens to have a superhero in the main role.
It's an actual paranoid thriller where you don't know who you can trust.
Yeah, and in this one, it kind of felt like a lesser retread of that.
Yeah.
And so you kind of either have to change the genre if you're going to make it lesser, or don't make it lesser. You know what I mean? Make it a paranoid drama that goes to, I don't know, more paranoid heights. I don't know what.
Exactly. I don't know. Yeah. Like if you're going to do the same genre as what is arguably the best MCU movie, or at least a lot of people's favorite, you're going to be compared.
Right.
And you have to like knock it out of the park.
It's definitely my favorite. No, it's one of the top like solo movies, meaning like it's not really an Avengers movie. Like Civil War is an Avengers movie.
Yes, it is.
It's not even, it's barely a Captain America movie. So you've basically got the first two Captain America movies and now this one. And this one is definitely below the other two, even though I don't really even love the first one. It's fine, but
the first one's fun.
Yeah. I mean, they're setting up the character.
Exactly. It kind of feels like a late 90s action movie. That first one.
Yeah, and there was a lot of goodwill off the heels of Iron Man.
Yes.
And excitement for Avengers that I think most of us, when we saw the original Captain America, we were like, good enough. Let's keep going.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of another interesting thing about this movie is this movie is kind of a sequel to 2008's Incredible Hulk, which I've never seen.
Really?
Never seen it. Yeah.
It's pretty inconsequential in the big picture. Just because
consequential this movie apparently.
Sure. Yeah, they definitely pulled some stuff from way back to kind of justify some of the plot in this one. Also, like, other than I guess Sam Wilson kind of owning the Captain America role more, like nothing that happened at the end of this movie feels like it's going to change what happens in the future. You know what I mean? Like it felt very like definitive there at the end.
Yes. What was there? I read that there was a post-credits scene. We didn't stay to the end of the credits.
Yes.
Did you stay?
I did. And the post-credits scene hints at like there eventually being like a multiverse.
Oh, great. Oh, wow.
Like,
multiverse.
We already knew that.
Yeah. No crap.
Right. But now somebody's saying it to Captain America.
Okay.
But I'm like, what don't they, ever since Endgame, haven't they known that there's a multiverse?
Right. Don't they use the multiverse to solve the problem in Endgame?
I think
I've only seen Endgame once, which is embarrassing to say. But.
No, it's fine. I'm probably getting this wrong, but I think Dr. Strangelove. Yeah, why was I going to say Strangelove? Oh, from
from Kubrick. Yeah.
Doctor Strange, when he does like his solution of like the millions of ways this can end, that's like a multiverse thing.
Okay.
Kind of first appearance of a multiverse. Yeah, they're in a very tough spot, I would say, with these post Endgame movies. They're in a very tough spot. They had to fight, I think, a little bit of superhero burnout. The fact that they had actors that didn't want to come back to roles anymore, or had made enough money at this point that they don't care to keep going, and a pandemic happened. One of their major bad guy, got in trouble legally.
Yep. Yeah, if you think about Endgame, right, that came out in 2019, and like they peaked at just the right time.
Yeah, and now it's like 5 years later, and it's more clear than ever that they just don't know where they're really going.
No, it's very directionless.
Like I think they do know, they just don't have the momentum anymore.
They haven't convinced the audience that they know where they're going.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you lost James Gunn. Yeah. The only thing that excites me about the MCU right now, which I'll see all of them. It's not that I'm not going to see them.
I'm going to see Thunderbolts. Let's be honest.
Right.
I have a 9-year-old son, so I'm in for these movies for a while.
Fantastic Four, though, we have not had a good or even decent, really, Fantastic Four movie.
No, we have not.
And so if somebody could nail the tone on a Fantastic Four movie and make it interesting and give us Galactus, like just this big, humongous, giant, entity, like godlike entity, and make it like costume, accurate type of thing, that excites the 12-year-old in me who used to collect comic books. You know what I mean? Like there's not many things that I haven't seen put to screen at this point. It started with like X-Men in like black suits because they couldn't have their costumes. In Deadpool 3, they put him in the original costume, and that movie made so much money.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
And I think people have moved beyond the put him in a black suit.
Right.
Yeah.
But we still have not seen a Galactus or something like that, because they've always said it won't work. It's going to look too goofy. Like Galactus literally like peeks his head over the curvature of the earth. You know what I mean? Like that's how big he is.
Right. Yeah. He's enormous. He's a world eater. Yeah.
Right.
Galactus wasn't in Rise of the Silver Surfer.
He's like seen from the back.
Okay. I thought, okay.
But you never get a scene where like he's stomping and, actually being fought.
He doesn't stomp. Like
you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Right. You don't like get his full face.
Lumbering. Yeah.
Who plays Galactus in this new Fantastic Four?
I forget. I'm pretty sure it's a name. Galactus voice, probably. Ralph Ineson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we haven't been talking much about specifics in Captain America, the New World, probably because there was not much to it.
Yeah, it's just it was.
I also
not
didn't
very-
like that they just introduced characters that like they just assumed we knew, or like the Secret Service agent who like clearly Sam Wilson and she have like this relationship
Right.
that for some reason made them trust each other, and maybe there was a line of why they're connected, but I don't remember it.
I heard that her character was way cut down.
Okay.
And it might be because her character was like an Israeli Mossad agent, and then the whole Israel thing war was happening. So they're just like, let's just kind of tone down the Israel stuff in this movie.
Interesting. Well, I felt like that for most of the characters. Like even Leader, it was like,
Oh, now you just spoiled it.
sorry. I feel like you said that already, but maybe not.
No, I never said it.
Okay.
I-
You want me to
I-
bleep it? Should I bleep it?
I mean, if you want to, I don't think if anyone's this far into
Nobody
our
cares.
review, they're not caring.
Nobody
So,
cares.
yeah.
Anyway, like the bad guy reveal was, the movie clearly wants it to be a big deal, and it's
Yeah.
just not. You know what I mean? It's just not.
No, because again, I don't think anyone knows who Leader is except nerds of Marvel.
Right. And they could have built it up to the point
Yeah.
where we knew what was coming, and then when it came, we were excited.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did with Thanos. Everybody knew the movie with Thanos was coming. It wasn't a shock when he was in
Yeah.
a movie, but they had built it up enough that we actually cared. And I feel like with this movie, there was like just nothing in it that I really cared about.
No.
But even the Red Hulk is like completely inconsequential to like a bigger picture.
No, it's just so they can have a fight.
Right. And they didn't want
Yeah.
to use normal Hulk. So
Right.
they found
So
a way
they,
to use the red
we
one.
use yeah. And I mean, I guess they did kind of stash that away in their back pocket for later.
Mhm.
But I mean, like Harrison Ford's 80 something years old. I don't think we're gonna be getting. I mean, if he's the next Avengers, that's gonna be insane.
Right. But if in like movie 50, right, when they do
Yeah.
the next big bad guy, they could have a Harrison Ford digital faced Red Hulk, whether
True.
he's dead or not. I bet he signed his rights away for that Red Hulk character.
You know, I heard that he was so cranky in that suit, he probably would rather them just digitally do it anyway. Besides, get back in that mocap suit.
Sure.
So this reminded me,
Mm-hmm.
a year ago, I took my son to McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
and the toys were Captain America: New World Order. That was like the Happy Meal toy.
New World Order, not Brave New World.
So yeah, so this movie was originally going to come out a year ago.
Mhm.
It was going to be called New World Order, and
Okay.
then got reshoots and name change and everything. But obviously, McDonald's had already figured out the promotions for it. So yeah, so he actually has like a Red Hulk plush from McDonald's that we got a year ago.
That's crazy. So McDonald's released it even though the movie rescheduled.
Yeah, because I'm sure that by that point, McDonald's probably already has like their toys all planned out for the year if they're doing
Sure.
it with movies.
Right.
So they're like, we're releasing this, and then I'm sure Disney's like, well, we're changing the date, and McDonald's is like, tough, like this is
Right.
happening. So
Yeah. That probably messes them up though too, because it's kind of, you're hoping the movie pushes people to McDonald's and McDonald's pushes
Exactly,
people
yeah.
to the movie.
oh no, it
When
was
there's
it was
no
super,
movie, then neither one's getting what they want.
exactly. It was super random. Like he opened his Happy Meal, he's like, I got Red Hulk, and I'm like, what? And then I look at the promotion, I'm like, this movie's not coming out at all. But they're like, well, too late now. We're in it. So
The other day I was thinking about Star Wars, and or it might have been today because the season 2 Andor trailer came out.
oh sure, yeah.
I haven't watched it. I'm not going to watch it. But it just reminded me that like we are, I guess, done with Star Wars movies for now. Like I don't know of anything that's in any kind of serious production for Star Wars.
I thought there was talk of another trilogy. I don't know
Sure.
who. I don't know if it's Taika Waititi who's making it. I know for a while it's gonna be Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's projects out there that
Right.
are probably still quote unquote being worked on. Like they're not officially canceled. But like nobody's in production enough that like somebody's storyboarding something, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
or they're certainly not shooting anything, or
No, nothing's being
they
shot
don't have
right
a
now.
production timeline. They haven't announced title. You know what I mean? Like it's radio silence right now. And it's been since 2019.
2019 was when Rise of Skywalker came out.
Right,
And
for the last
no movies
Star Wars
since.
movie. No movies since. No Star Wars
Wow.
movies
No
since.
Star Wars movies since.
It's
You know,
probably good. You know what I mean? Because we
They
were all
probably-
burnt out on it.
They probably saw Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
especially post-pandemic, and we're like, oh, we need to have a plan. Like, we can't just be cranking these out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that means that the next, I'm sure it'll be another trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
The next story we get will be like well thought out and not half baked. They probably also don't know where to go because like the whole Skywalker saga is over more or less.
I take that back. I think there is a Star Wars movie in production.
Really? Okay.
Because I think Mandalorian. I think it's based on Mandalorian.
Which is like their one success. Well, I guess the TV shows have been more successful.
It's their most
Post-pandemic.
successful, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
Like by a lot compared to the other Star Wars TV. I think Andor definitely has like critical and
Mhm.
fan praise, but like as far as a pop culture presence,
Mandalorian's the
it
one.
has almost none. Yeah, whereas Mandalorian does. Okay, let me go to this list of Star Wars movies. That's not helpful. Taika Waititi in 2020 was announced. Then
Okay.
3 further live action films were announced at 2023 Star Wars Celebration. James Mangold's going to direct one of them.
Oh, okay.
I don't want him directing one.
I want him making a sequel to Identity.
Yeah. January 2024, a Mandalorian film directed by Jon Favreau was announced.
Okay. That was announced in January.
It was
of
announced.
last year. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. But I don't know when that movie is supposed to come out. That's the next question.
And I do wonder like if they're gonna have another saga or trilogy or what's the next big story they're gonna tell.
Right. Yeah. And the next question is, will people turn out for a Mandalorian movie in the same numbers that they turned out for like a normal Star Wars movie? I don't know.
I mean, with Pedro Pascal, I'm sure there's some big names in it. They may have a hit.
I think it'll do all right.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
don't know.
will it do like Force Awakens numbers? No.
Right.
But
Yeah.
will it do better than Solo numbers? Yeah, it might. It might have a smaller budget than Solo. Maybe that's how they'll be smart about it.
I happen to have Solo's box office in front of me right now.
Which Solo is not a failure. Like it made a ton of money, right?
Yes. It made 392 million,
Okay.
which let's see which one. Yeah, that's worldwide. And its budget was 271 million.
Ooh, okay. So that's gonna hurt.
So with marketing, it may not have made much. Again, this is
Yeah.
box office like before
Right.
everything else they make off the movie, like all the broadcast rights and the streaming and everything like that. But I think it made money. It just didn't
$70
make
million.
what they want these movies to make. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They want to make $1 billion on each one. Or
I bet you Mandalorian could make $500,000. I think it's got an easy $500,000 in it.
$500,000.
Yeah. Worldwide, yes.
$500 million, you mean?
Sorry, $500 million. Yes.
I was gonna say.
Told you, I'm terrible with these box office numbers.
I think it'll make at least $500,000. I agree.
Yeah. I'll put money on it. $500,000 this
Right.
movie will do. Yeah, no, $500 million. I bet you it'll do.
Anyway, so clearly they are working on things.
Right.
Again, I'm pretty sure I haven't heard of anybody filming anything yet. So I kind of won't believe it until I see filming or at least hear about it. And then I was just surprised that it's been going on 6 years without a Star Wars. It doesn't feel like that long, but time flies.
I think it's because they've been giving us shows. So it's not like there's been no Star Wars.
Right.
It's just been no theatrical Star Wars.
Right. Yep. All right. Anything else for Captain America : Brave New World? We want to summarize our thoughts, I guess, on our way out.
This might be my least favorite MCU movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it might partially be because I just don't know if I care.
Right. I think that's the bigger issue is like, I don't think it'll be my least favorite because I just won't remember it.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad at it. It wasn't so bad that you're like mad at it. It just felt underwhelming compared to where I've seen some of these can go.
Right. Yeah.
And I'd rather have like another 5 Shang-Chi's. Not like 5 of those movies, just 5 of characters I've never heard of before, never read. You know what I mean? That are telling their own individual story than like another reboot individual story of a character that's already existed and already had a full arc.
Right. In the genre they've already done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably the issue is like, it's the same as the good ones, just not as good. That's rough. That is rough. All right. Let's letterbox this out of 5 stars. What are you going to give?
I mean, this might be harsh, but 2 stars.
I gave it a 3, but I'm kind of feeling more like a 2.5.
Okay.
But my initial number that I put in my notes was 3. So I'm going to go with that for now.
I think my initial number was 2.5 because right, this movie is not offensive or it's not bad. It's just boring.
It feels small.
Yeah.
And the action was like not notable. And the way they told the plot itself was not interesting. I mean, that's the issue.
It clocks just under 2 hours and it is a long 2 hours. Like, if you had told me this movie was 2.5 hours long, I would have totally believed you.
That was another thing, too. It felt like there was a little bit of intrigue going on at the beginning. And then at some point, some reveals are made. And then you feel like they should be going from that right into the finale. And instead, they went from that into like this little 20, 30-minute section where you know you're going to end up at that. You know what I mean? You know you're going to end up at that finale. They've just got 20 to 30 minutes of filler before you get to the inevitable. And that just kind of felt like the whole thing dragged out because there was no more reveals left. You already gave us the reveals.
Right. Exactly. Yes. You're just waiting there. and I found the reveal so underwhelming because it's just like, well, this guy's really smart. So he can do anything he wants. And I'm like, okay, well, that's just lazy. Like if your bad guy is, I'm super smart, so I can make anything happen that I want happen because I know the probabilities. I'm like, okay, well, sure. Then you can just say anything happens because I deemed it so.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Also, how do you get a gun into the White House? Like the whole incident that set this thing off, I was like, well, did they have metal detectors or check him? Like, it's the White House. It's the president. You can't just walk in with a gun on you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, other than Secret Service, everybody gets frisked from what I understand.
Everyone gets frisked. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're Captain America or not that Captain America had the gun on him, but still so.
Or the friend of Captain America. They're gonna frisk you.
Yeah, when he pulled that gun out, I was like, well, how did he get that in there? Like, this is
that
ridiculous.
was the other thing too. This is spoiler for the next 30 seconds.
Sure, yeah.
The whole like playing music and making somebody do something is so tired.
I mean, Manchurian Candidate did it so well back in 1962 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
and didn't Winter Soldier have something similar, or was there a phrase that set them off?
I don't remember, but it just feels like they could have, I don't know. They could have brainstormed that one a little more and come up with a more interesting way to trigger it.
Like, it's the first time, okay, spoiler, the first time it happens, you hear music play, and right away I'm like, okay, well, that's the trigger.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't a mystery to me whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. It's just, okay. Yeah, you know what? I feel great about my 2 stars right now.
Sounds good. A 2 and a 2.5 for Captain America: Brave New World. Let's talk about Emilia Pérez. This movie was released by Netflix much earlier in the year, I think like March or something like that. It was pretty under the radar until awards season came around, and then they ended up getting like 14 nominations or something insane like that. And so we thought maybe we should probably watch this movie because clearly some people are digging it for sure. So we checked it out and we're going to discuss it right after this clip.
Duró mucho tiempo. ¿Por?
Era demasiado intenso. Ya no podía pensar en nada más. Nunca me había pasado algo así.
¿Y qué pasó?
Nada. Ahí le paré. Ya no quise volverlo a ver.
That was Emilia Pérez, a 2024 Spanish language French musical crime film. Emilia Pérez is directed by Jacques Audiard, maybe. Stars Zoe Saldana, I think, Carla Sofia Gascon, Selena Gomez, Adriana Paz, whatever, Mark Ivaner, and Edgar Ramirez, amongst others. The official IMDb plot synopsis for Emilia Pérez is Emilia Pérez follows 3 remarkable women in Mexico, each pursuing their own happiness. Cartel leader Emilia enlists unappreciated lawyer Rita to help fake her death so that she can finally live authentically as her true self. Who's the third woman?
Selena Gomez.
Oh, right. Okay, that makes sense. There were definitely 3 women. I agree. What did you guys think of Emilia Pérez?
Love to hear from Zach on this one.
All right, I have thoughts about Emilia Pérez.
Yeah.
I like musicals. I think musicals are fun. That is not a genre I'm scared of. I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, I think, was a little silly. I didn't love this movie. And I say that first, let me talk about it as a musical. I think that it fails as a musical. Number one, a musical should really leave you thinking about the songs from the film, right? There should be some that like are memorable and catchy, some that you're anxious to listen to again. And I, by and large, did not find that to be true with this movie. There was one song that I actually really enjoyed, and that was during the fundraising event, where Zoe Saldana was like singing about how all these bad people are going to give up their money, like for this thing. And she just killed it on that song. Now, do I remember really the song? I mean, I think she said Hablo a lot. Other than that, I don't really remember much about the song, but her dance performance was pretty great. But yeah, a lot of the music in this movie I actually thought was not enjoyable. Especially the ones that were more like spoken than sung. There were some moments where a character, like for instance, the Israeli doctor, he would kind of like speak his melodically his music, and it was very, I don't know why, but I found it very disconcerting. It almost like bothered me when people would do that. Yeah. Okay. So on some other levels, I did not enjoy Selena Gomez's performance and her character. it felt very miscast to me. She didn't seem old enough for the role. She didn't seem to have enough gravitas for the role. I don't know. And then there were a lot of like goofy staging decisions that happened, or just like goofy things that happen. I don't know. Just like it seemed all so shortcutted. Like things would happen so quickly, and things were not like built up or like really. There was never enough time given to things, and they would just kind of happen, and without too much build up. I don't know. It was a strange experience. Now, Zoe Saldana is great in it. She really is fantastic in it. I think she's the best part for sure. But yeah, the movie was kind of unsettling in a way. What do you guys think?
So I agree with you on the music. I think as a musical, this movie failed. Where I also was not enjoying most of the songs. I found most of the songs to be staged rather boringly too, if that makes sense. Where it just wasn't interesting what was happening on screen while people were singing. And I think this could have been a movie that could have gone full musical. As in, like, they could have had moments where it broke out into dance. Because, right, as you said, this movie does have a bit of an oddness to it. And just in its presentation. So I think if this movie had gone full musical with like backup dancers and everything happening, the audience for the most part would have gone along with it.
It kind of does that at times.
There's a couple, I mean, but there's also like one time when Selena Gomez goes into a room with a bunch of dancers and you think, oh, we're going to have like a moment, and then nothing really happens.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought this was a missed opportunity to make it a memorable musical, with the exception of, yeah, I agree, the El Mal, or I think that song is El Mal, the Oscar winner.
Oh, is that the one?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I also like the one that Selena Gomez sang into her phone. I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the song that they sing at the at the plastic surgery center in Thailand, that was very strange.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just strange in its own staging, because that felt more like it was staged like a musical with like rotating beds and people singing along, where other ones were like in your face, more Les Mis style. So I think the movie couldn't decide what kind of musical it wanted to be. And that's how it definitely failure there. I liked all three of the actresses. I definitely think Zoe Saldana was the strongest. Selena Gomez's performance did not bother me whatsoever. And I thought Carla Garcia Gaston, is that correct? Let me see. Carla, I'm reading.
Yeah. Carla Sofia Gascon.
Carla Sofia Gascon. Thank you. I thought she did a pretty great job too. But I do think that this movie lacked something. I'm not sure what this movie was about, if that makes sense. Where Zoe Saldana seemed to me like she was the main character. And I really thought this was going to be like a movie from her perspective. And instead, this movie wanted to jump around. And I think if it had stuck more with like one character, and like you still could have had the same events of the movie, but more like, here's Zoe Saldana, who's this outsider to this drug crime lord, you know, the whole scene gets kind of pulled into it, and sort of what is her take on it? How is she seeing these people changing? Emilia Pérez, you know, evolving as a person. I thought that would be kind of interesting, instead of like the jump around journey that we get. This movie also, to me, had a very unearned ending. I mean, if you want to talk about like things that felt rushed, the last 10 minutes of this movie felt incredibly rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Where the movie ended and I was like, oh, it's over now. Like that's our climax right there. Did not feel like a climax. Definitely felt like an anticlimax to me. And that was, yeah, I kind of all over the place pacing wise. What did you think, James?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I will say that I enjoyed the movie, but I don't understand the hype. I don't know why people are like really solidly attaching themselves to this, because it didn't feel, I don't know. It didn't feel like it's in the same league as some of the other movies that are nominated this year. That's the reason why I say that is because that's how I watch the movie. Like with that perspective is like,
Right.
this is the movie that like clearly a lot of people like enough to nominate it 14 times over. And so we should watch it. And I couldn't help but compare it to like other movies that got nominated, some that didn't. And just kind of like, what is it about this that like makes people that hyped? Because I don't understand that. It is weird. It's unique, but it's not particularly good at what it's unique with. And the like most of the songs are like spoken word set to a beat practically. They're like not actually singing. El Mal, she actually sings. A couple other ones, there's like singing moments for sure, but a lot of it's just kind of storytelling to a beat directly into the camera. On top of that, like to me, it's clear that Zoe Saldana is the lead of this movie, and everybody else is a supporting actor. I mean, even the stuff in Thailand is like from her perspective, and then it is like several years later, you know what I mean? It cuts to black and says several years later, completely skips the story of supposedly who's the main character of this movie. And so that doesn't make sense to me, but that's an Oscar politics thing more than it is about the movie itself. I also didn't fully like how much is a spoiler? Do they actually, let me look at the description again real quick before I say something out loud. Yeah, they hint at a spoiler in the plot description, but they don't flat out say it. There's a character in this movie that has a life experience that is not commonly depicted on movie screens. And I'm a little confused as to why that life decision was made because they say why it was made in the movie. But there's also like all these other things that for that person specifically would make sense for them to do what they're doing.
Are you talking about Emilia Pérez?
I'm talking about the character that she's helping live authentically as her true self. The character that's living authentically as her true self, I understand what they said their motivation was, but because of their job or whatever, there's other reasons why you might want to do that.
I don't think it's a spoiler to talk about.
I don't know if it is or it isn't.
Okay. I mean, I think it's pretty known,
Zach,
what this movie's about.
You be the judge.
Spoiler. Everyone knows that.
There's a trans character in the movie.
Emilia Pérez is the trans character. Yeah, it's not a trans character. It's about a trans woman.
Sure. There's a trans character in the movie, and that trans character was a big time drug lord.
Right.
And so
yes,
they say in the movie that they don't even say it at the beginning. Like I thought it was muddy personally as to why the motivation for the transition. Or I thought like that was going to have something to say about masculinity or just have something to say about it, period. You know what I mean? They just didn't. There's like a scene where he, before he transitions, is telling her, Zoe Saldana's character, like, this is what I'm doing, but he doesn't really give a reason.
I think he does.
I think he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely like, I've never felt comfortable. I've always wanted to be a woman. I think that's there.
Well, maybe I skipped over it in my brain.
And if that wasn't the real motivation, there's much easier things he could, just get plastic surgery and remain a man. Would have been fine.
It's a long way to go. I agree.
Yeah, I didn't get a sense that the motivation was to escape the past.
Now, I do think that it was odd how much Emilia Pérez personality-wise changed just because of the transition.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like went from the leader of a drug cartel to just kind of like a homemaker who runs a nonprofit that helps people.
Mm-hmm.
So have you, I don't want to dive too much into the controversy around this movie, but
sure.
And I didn't dive into it until after I saw the movie, but have you guys read either the trans community's reaction to this movie and the Mexican community's reaction to this movie?
No.
Okay. You can read more about this, but like GLAAD panned this movie for a lot of retrograde depictions of trans people.
Okay.
And then the Mexican community thought this movie was a stereotypical portrayal of Mexico because this whole movie was shot in Paris in studios. And I guess apparently the accents are wrong, but it's not even the accents, the translations are bad. So like some people thought it felt like they put it in, this French director put the screenplay into like Google Translate, said make this into Spanish, and then spun it out there. So it's like grammatically it's all over the place. These are not things I picked up on. I don't speak Spanish. I'm not from Mexico. I don't have a trans experience. So watching this movie, like maybe some of the trans stuff I thought bothered me a little bit. Like you said, Zach, the change in personality. There's a moment towards the end when Emilia Pérez is acting like her old self and her voice lowers. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem right at all. Like, I don't think people switch back and forth.
There was a whole song.
Yes.
Where Emilia Perez's son was like, "Oh, you smell like my dad."
Yes. Yep. That's another one.
And I don't understand because all the hormones would be different, right? Like Emilia Pérez would probably be on a lot of hormones, would probably smell very different.
Yes, that's another.
But there's a whole song about it.
Right. And like, I'll admit in that moment, I'm like, oh, how touching is this? Like, but then like, oh, you're right. Like that would not be the case whatsoever.
And there's just so many bizarre little decisions. Like, for instance, 4 years passed, right?
Yes.
And these kids, like, 4 years for a kid's life is a long amount of time. You know what I mean? And so, like, we have these kids and they're like, I don't know, 8. And like 4 years ago, they were 4. It's just such a big gap that was just like wiped over.
Plus, like,
remember the doctor was singing about how, like, oh, I don't think you should transition. Why did they pick that doctor instead of like, why not the place with the big song about like, oh, we do this all the time and we have a million surgeries? Why did they pick the Israeli doctor that doesn't believe in this surgery?
Right. Yeah. Who's saying like, you can change the face, you can't change the soul and things. Yeah.
Good questions for sure. I just kind of feel like, I don't know. It felt a little half baked, I would say.
Yeah.
At times, or kind of like you're cramming a lot of stuff into one movie, and maybe, I don't know. I don't think I've seen enough trans stories to know like what a typical trans experience would be, but like, I always see it from an outsider. I always see it as like somebody being honest. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when they decide to transition, it's a very public thing that you kind of can't hide. The point is not to hide it. You're doing it. You know what I mean? That's who you are. So you're doing it. Whereas in this one, it's like a weird, Mrs. Doubtfire thing. Where,
it's very Mrs. Doubtfire right? In the second half.
Where like he fakes his own death and then tells his own children that he's their aunt. You know what I mean? And it's just, it felt like a bunch of lies. You know what I mean? Like he went and did this thing to be his authentic self and then came back to his old life and didn't tell anybody he actually did it. It's like, what is the point of, I don't know. It's confusing to me how that's the presentation of a character that like is not really depicted in movies very often. So I'm sure trans people come in all shades, some very honest, some not. It's just a new presentation for me. Also, I just didn't like that the movie was dark. Like a lot of it seemed dark, not only in tone, but just like the scenes themselves. There just wasn't much other than like the inside of her house towards the end, just by the nature of like windows with sunlight coming in. It felt like everything else was like at night or dark, and I don't know. Plus, like the whispering at the end was just kind of like, okay, we're doing this, I guess. I don't know. The parts I did like were singing moments. One of them was the song you guys are referencing at the fundraiser. I thought that number and that sequence was cool. and I was totally on board. And Zoe Saldana killed it for sure. And the other one was a very small thing, but when they were prepping for war and she's singing and preparing, and all the guys are like checking their guns and like hitting the butts against the table and stuff like that. And they're like making the beat with the guns and like different sounds that a gun might make other than shooting. I thought that was like actually really cool and well executed. And I wished they had been that creative through the whole movie with the music, because that would have made the sparseness of the music at times would have made sense if like the people in the environment were making the noises like they were with those guns. Other than that, it just kind of felt like Dark in the Heights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else we need to say? Go ahead.
So I did think, like, before I saw this movie, obviously going into it, I thought it was about a cartel kingpin who transitions and remains in power. And like, oh, well, how interesting to have a trans woman who, right. And there's to talk about like masculinity and toughness and all of that. I thought that was the story going into it. It's Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right. By the end, it's Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, and that's not what I was expecting. And like, oh, like, there's a lot of interesting ideas, like you said, about masculinity and transition and like how does that fit into this world of violence? And it doesn't really get into that.
Yeah. Zach, anything else on Emilia Pérez?
I didn't like the scene where it showed like all the family members' heads and it like slowly zooming out and we see like 100 heads singing at us. I didn't like that.
I don't remember that scene whatsoever.
It was pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know. This movie I thought was interesting.
It's interesting. I'm just not
But
sure
I think
it's
it's
well executed. That's the question.
I think it's half baked. I think they didn't preheat the oven and they pulled it out too early.
Sure. That being said, though, I didn't really have like Selena Gomez was a little, I don't know, acting 101, I would say. But the other two I thought were pretty good, and Zoe Saldana is great when somebody challenges her with something. Normally she's in some sci-fi movie where it doesn't matter. But it was fun to see her in this. I'm trying to think of the other movie I saw with her in it where it's just her, basically. It's like there was an action movie. Was she in Domino or something like that? She was great in that too. We're talking like 15 years ago or something like that. Domino film.
Yeah, because she's been doing Marvel, Star Trek, and Avatar for the last like 15 years, right?
It definitely feels like that. It wasn't Domino.
She was in the Nina Simone movie, right?
Did she play Nina Simone?
She did.
I don't think I ever saw that movie. Is it good?
I think she got in trouble for that because she darkened her skin for the role and stuff.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not good. Well, she was in Drumline.
She was in Drumline?
Yeah, and The Terminal.
I wonder who she played in Drumline. I used to, like, as
You
a
used to
band
love
teacher.
Drumline?
Well, no, that would be like 8th grade, last day of school.
Played
We
Layla.
watched Drumline.
Columbiana. That's what I was trying to think of. Columbiana. French-English action thriller where she's like the main action star and she's not wearing blue paint or some weirdness. You know what I mean? She's just a straightforward action star. She was great in that. But you're talking, it's a Luc Besson movie. Oh, written by him, not directed. And we're talking 2011. So 14 years ago.
Okay, so that's post Avatar, but pre Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep. It was good. Worth checking out if you just want kind of a fun, dumb action movie. All right, Emilia Pérez. What are you guys going to give it as far as Letterboxd goes out of 5 stars?
I'm going to give it.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give it 3 stars.
I also
2
gave
stars.
it 3.
2 stars.
Really? I feel like Zach liked it the most, and yet he gave it the...
Well, I probably did like it the most, but I don't think it's a good movie.
Okay. I mean, 3 is like slightly better than average, I would say, mostly because of Zoe.
Is this a better than average movie?
I think so. I mean, I
Okay.
don't think it's a great movie by any stretch, but I think it's better than average.
I think it's got more interesting swings than your average movie, but I don't think it's as good as your average movie. I think it's worse than your average movie as
Okay.
far as like the things that it fails at.
Fair enough. All right. A 2 and 2 3s for Emilia Pérez. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Cinereelists, episode 669. Don't forget, video version of this podcast on YouTube. Go check it out there. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. Send us a listener email. But ultimately, the only thing you really need to do this week is enter the Oscar pool for your chance at that sweet, sweet Cinereelists coffee mug that you can put other things in too. You don't have to put coffee in it. Also, links in the description for all of those in the description of this episode. Also, we will be on Discord next Sunday during the Oscars. Jump on Discord with us and chit chat about the goings on at the ceremony. Also, you can follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Cinereelists, or you can follow me on my personal Twitter or Letterboxd account at EOJRB.
On Twitter and Letterboxd as Shaubin.
We'll see you guys next time when we will be talking The Brutalist and giving our Oscar night reactions. We'll see you there. Until then, keep it Cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.